Welcome to the Mac Power Users. I'm David Sparks. Stephen cannot be here today. He's got the laryngitis, so his voice has been getting worse every day. I'm not sure if I was even supposed to share that, but yeah, Stephen's out for unknown reasons. But yeah, he couldn't make it. So I called my good friend Chris Bailey. Chris agreed. He jumped off the bench and jumped in the game. Welcome to the Mac Power Users, Chris.
Thanks for calling me in, Coach. It's good to be here. This is not, what, 3 or 4?
Yeah, I don't know. You're almost to the sweater level, but not quite.
Ooh, nice.
But Chris, a couple of reasons I want to get you in is you did something kind of crazy with your iPad Mini, and I want to talk about it on the show. But you also just released a new book. Chris has his new book out, and I love all of Chris's books, but this to me is the ultimate Chris Bailey book. It's called Intentional, and it's about how to deal with intentionality and how to finish what you start. Chris and I are good friends, and I've been watching you do all this research for years and work on this book, and I'm so happy to see this book out in the world, Chris.
Feels so good. This one feels better than the others.
Yeah.
You know, I find like at this point, or when are we recording? You know, a few months away from the launch, or a few weeks away from the launch, I find at this point I'm usually just wiped. You know, I'm wiped from all the interviews. I'm wiped from all this stuff. But I find my energy kind of going up every single time I talk about this book. And so I feel it's a good sign that these ideas are, you know, genuinely exciting, helpful. Not that the other ones that I've talked about in the past aren't, but this book feels really special. You know, it's the culmination of 10 years of writing about intentional productivity, essentially. And yeah, it feels therapeutic to get it out into the. I don't want to just plug my book the whole time because we got some dirty stuff to talk about too. But it just feels so good. So I'm happy you feel the same. I'm happy it's not just me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to be honest, I don't read many productivity books. I feel like a lot of them kind of say the same stuff, and this one is an outlier. I mean, to me, I've said for a long time that I feel like the biggest problem we all have is just staying intentional, like staying focused. I have a podcast called Focused, and like if we can just crack that nut, right, then a lot of things unlock for us. And you brought science, and you have kind of an explanation and a framework, and it's really good. We did a focus episode on it. I'll put a link in the notes for folks that want to listen to it. Maybe we'll come back to a bit later, but I just for people who don't know Chris, I guess I jumped through that. I've been featured by the Wall Street Journal, Oprah, the Globe, and the Mail. Big Think, Financial Times. Ted called Chris the most productive man in the world, which, you know what? Why don't you take it? Why not?
I'll take it.
All right.
These little. It's funny. We were talking about this before we started recording. It's kind of these. You know, these little lines that a reporter uses to refer to you sometimes. You know, a reporter from TED says this, a reporter from Wired or Wall Street Journal says that. And it's like every time one of those article comes out, people like scan it. Oh, they said this, you know, we can clip this and say they called Chris Bailey this. And so I always find it funny how kind of the sausage is made behind that. I'm just happy they're talking about my stuff at all, honestly.
Yeah. Well, what I like about you, because like even I have the productivity field guide, but to me, it's about kind of intuition and my own experience with some old words. And it works for me, but I don't bring any science in. You do that. You go and you read all the studies and talk about why our brains work this way or that way. And it's just really good. Like you said, we're here to talk about Mac Power User stuff. You're my buddy, and I'm really proud of this great book you've made, and I think you've really helped the world with it. So congratulations.
Thank you. Just one random point. I do agree with you. Most productivity books feel kind of the same. Yeah. I don't read a ton of them either.
Yeah. Chris, we're on the Mac Power Users. You need to update us. I know you've been on the show before, but I know you've also upgraded your gear. What are you driving these days?
Yes. Well, I'm driving my current computer into the ground.
Okay.
Is what I'm driving. So I'm still rocking the M1 Pro MacBook Pro. I love this thing. So I wear this. People can see if they're watching the video version of the pod. This, what do you call this band? It's like the black chain band for the Apple Watch Ultra.
I don't remember what
I forget what it's called. It goes under the sea or something.
It's like the metal. It's the new metal band, not the Luke one, but the whatever.
The fancy
fishnet
one that cost $200. Yeah. If they came from the ocean or something, I have no idea. I've had the computer so long. I found two products, Apple products, that aren't compatible with one another,
Yeah.
and it's the MacBook Pro and this watch band. And I could send a picture to you for the
Okay.
show notes. The corner of my computer is slowly being whittled away, like how water washes over a stone over time to smooth it.
Yeah.
The corner of my MacBook Pro is getting smoothed by this band. It's kind of hilarious.
That would
So
drive me crazy.
yeah, but it's kind of, I don't think it's more ergonomic, but
Yeah.
I had it at the Apple store the other day because the battery finally, it had been at 80% health for so long. And of course, if it's covered under Apple Care, they replace that at 79. I've been waiting for that 80 to tick down to 79. I don't know if there's some kind of like thing that needs to get tripped up for that percentage to lower. It went from 100 to 80, over the span of 3 or 4 years, but from 80 to 79 took like 1 year. It took over a year, but it finally ticked, and so I brought it to the Apple store. I hadn't even realized the front was getting whittled away by this watch band, but
Yeah.
I'm still rocking it. And
Yeah.
I fully, speaking of intention, I intend to drive this computer into the ground. It's kind of at the point now where, I've video setup that we're not using now. I'm using the potato camera in the studio display for recording this episode if people are watching the video. But yeah, so it's at the point where it's kind of hiccuping with some Zoom calls. I had a media hit the other day that was live TV, and it like kind of hiccuped at the beginning. I'm hardwired into 10 gigabit internet here, so it's probably not the internet. It's probably something on the rest of the stack.
Yeah.
So it's showing its age a little bit, but still, it's my baby. It's my
Yeah.
baby, David.
Yeah.
How can I part?
So it's the edge of the computer that's getting worn down by the watch band?
Yeah, it's like the front where the side meets the top.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
So
kind of the corner.
Johnny Ive would have said that you're chamfering your MacBook Air.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. It's a self-chamfer.
Maybe you should just get two Apple Watches with the bands, and then you could just wear it down equally on each side.
Well, who was it that said, was it Da Vinci that said symmetry is the definition of beauty? Was it
There
Da
you
Vinci?
go. There you go.
Maybe in honor of Da Vinci. And symmetry, I ought to switch it up. I don't know. I don't think I could switch to the right hand, though, Maybe
Yeah.
I'll become ambidextrous or something. Who knows?
But you actually touch on a point that I think is real relevant to the Apple Silicon age is I think for most users, these Apple Silicon Macs are going to run a long time. And they're going to be fully up to the job. I mean, we're going to talk about your tech stack in a minute, but the stuff you use is perfectly capable of running on that computer. And it will be for probably several more years. I don't know if you're having like internet issues or things. That's interesting to me because it's all in one chip. It'd be weird that it would be breaking like that. But I think it's going to be kind of like it's going to become like a refrigerator. You buy a refrigerator, you run it until it doesn't work anymore. I think these MacBooks, these M1s and these Apple Silicon MacBooks are going to run forever. I mean, exhibit one for this for me is the iPad. You look at iPads, they run forever. People keep them forever. They stop using them because they get so old, Apple stops supporting them. And I think this is really good news for Apple laptop customers.
Yeah, it hurts a bit more at the top to buy it.
Yeah.
You do feel it a bit more, but it's all about the amortization with that. Like Apple products, I feel, are different from a financial perspective than PCs. And people have talked about this before, but you get the longer amortization first of all, but then you get the higher resale value at the end.
Yeah.
That subtracts from the amortized. So I think on a year-to-year basis, it's probably a lot cheaper than a PC.
Yeah.
I don't want to give Apple any ideas on the podcast to turn the hardware into a subscription service too, but
yeah, I'm sure they've already thought about that. Trust me.
I have this theory that basically everything that we replace regularly is a subscription service already.
Yeah.
Like toothpaste is a subscription service. It's just like we pay for it on a regular interval. We're constantly replacing it. Everything is a subscription service that we're going to buy repeatedly.
Yeah, I think you're on the right track, though. I hope that in 2 years when you come back that you're using the same M1. I hope you are.
I hope so too. But then I'll kind of wear the front down to the motherboard, and then we'll have different issues.
Yeah, when you wear through the aluminum,
yeah, the aluminium,
you can see inside. That adds a degree of difficulty.
Yeah. How dare I say motherboard? I meant logic board.
Yeah,
That's the
yeah,
nomenclature, isn't it, in the
yeah.
Apple
No,
world?
it took me a long time to adopt that because I was used to the word motherboard, but I'm
Yeah.
good now. I'm good.
Yeah. Call me old fashioned, David.
Yeah. All right, Chris. So you've got an M1, and honestly, you act like it's an ancient computer, but it's an M1 Apple Silicon computer. Like, if you're on an Intel, then I'd be impressed. But
Yeah. Yeah. I'm no
but
John
M1, you're
Syracuse.
still on Apple Silicon, which is great.
Yeah. It's 5 years old, though. It's kind of hard to believe.
Yeah,
I'm looking at the about info thing. 14-inch, 2021.
yeah.
That's wild.
And I hear from listeners who are still on Intel chips, and when I write them back, I say, "Man, you're in for such a great day. I mean,
Yeah.
the day you upgrade is going to be awesome. It's going to be like you just got rocket jets on your computer.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
You don't feel it as much when you're moving between Apple Silicon. I am feeling the itch this year. I'll be honest. I guess I should just come out with it.
Mm.
I have 32 gigabytes of RAM on this thing, and I've been doing like experiments with local AI and stuff, and I am like struggling. And I keep seeing all the M5 benchmarks, and I'm like, damn, when they come out with an M5 Studio, that's going to be hard for me to resist. We'll see.
So, what's kind of the delta with AI performance with what you currently have? I forget what computer you have.
I have an M2 Mac Studio, which is a great computer. And like you, it does everything I need except the local AI model stuff, and I'm hitting some problems. I was stingy with RAM when I bought it, and at that time it made sense, but now it really doesn't. Now you need more RAM with everything going on, and that's what's causing me trouble.
Mm.
But we'll see. I mean, I can meditate on this in front of the audience for months. We need to talk about Chris. Chris, the other thing I want to ask you about now that you got your old reliable. Did you name your computers, by the way? Do you give them?
I don't.
Okay.
No, my wife does. My wife
Okay.
has creative names, and so she'll have her little phone that has tethering. Anybody can kind of look at the network, and her colleagues will say, "What the heck is this device? You know, what is Lil Red?"
Yeah.
Because she had the little mini phone.
Yeah.
What's Little Red? Who has
Yeah.
a phone called Little Red? And she, oh, it's my little iPhone. But I've never been one to do that. Do you?
Yeah. I named them after jazz musicians. You know, I'm on Monk right now.
Oh, I like that.
But I think you seem like you have a relationship with your computer. I almost feel like it deserves a name, but you have to think about that.
Well, I think I have a different relationship with dents in the computer too.
Yeah.
So our mutual
Okay.
friend Mike Schmitz,
Yeah.
we were hanging out, the three of us, and he saw a dent in the back of the computer, and he's, "What's that dent? That's horrible." But I see it as like a little love bite, is how I think of it. And so this orange phone. This is going to sound ridiculous, but maybe somebody out there will understand. So the new orange phone, the one that's in all the ads. First of all, when I take this out of my pocket, every child, hey, fellow orange buddy, every child compliments me on my phone, and no adults mention anything. But if there's a child around, they'll say, "Oh, is that the new iPhone?" Because it's such a vivid color.
Yeah.
But Arden, like, it scratches very easily, as I'm sure you've found, because you're also caseless, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so like there's where the jerry rig video where he zoomed in on the microns or whatever on the edges. I see some wear there, but there's also chips. Like there's a nice little dent in the corner there. But I see them as like little love bites from the experiences that I have. So Arden and I were at a very fancy meal on one of our trips, and I was having such a good time. We had a glass of wine on that in that dinner. I said, I want a little memory of this. And the table was concrete, and so I took the corner and I did just a little, tap to have a love bite from that experience.
So you intentionally dented it. I love that.
Yes, an intentional dent. And so when I look at the phone now, I see that dent. And so some people see a dent, but I say, "Oh, that was from that amazing meal we had." I really like driving my tech into the ground. I cannot overstate that point.
Yeah. I like that mine kind of gets worn It reminds
Yeah.
me kind of the Millennium Falcon, right? It's like, yeah,
Yeah.
this thing has seen some action, but I've
Yeah.
never intentionally dented it to create a memory. I think Chris,
You
that's a
should
first on the show.
you
Good
should
for
do
you.
this in memory of episode 800 and whatever this is.
Okay, Tunk. All right, I'm
I
gonna
did
just
it, but
take
I
a
don't think it
moment to
dented.
spike my phone, and then we can continue. All right, Chris, what is your tech stack? I talk to you frequently, but we never talk about this stuff. Like,
Oh man.
okay, let's start with the bane of all our existence, email.
Mm.
How do you do email?
As little as humanly possible, David.
Yeah,
No, I honestly I don't use a local client for email. I just use the web, and I'm a big fan of Fastmail
yeah.
because I can pay for email. They respect my privacy. It's very. I just love Fastmail's entire ethos. If you're looking for you're on Fastmail too, right?
Yeah, I am.
Yeah.
That's news for the audience. So I went over to Google and did Superhuman for a while, and
Hmm.
but I just found that the problem was Superhuman was trying to be AI stuff, and Google was trying to do AI stuff, and my mail wasn't getting to me. It was just all the AIs were fighting each other, and I just said, heck with it. I'm just gonna go back to Fastmail.
I'm
So
tired of this mini
I kind
war
of
over
say
my
this in
data.
shame, guys. I feel like I should have been able to pull this off, but I didn't. And one of the nice things about Fastmail, Chris, especially if you're using the web interface or their app, is you can ban domains as soon as an email comes in. And so when you start getting junk, you just say, "Don't send me anything from this domain ever again." That's kind of nice.
Yeah, yeah. I use SaneBox for that.
Yeah,
Usually, so SaneBox is kind of like a layer on top of email where
yeah,
you can, there's something called Sane Black Hole if people aren't familiar with it, where if you never, I do this with press people. Sorry, press people, if
yeah,
any of you are listening, but some people like they pitch and they pitch and it's like, get the hint, I don't want
yeah,
to, promote this product or whatever. And so there's a same black hole. You drag that sender and you never hear from them ever again.
yeah,
And they kind of skim the cruft off of your email too and put it into a folder for you. So I use that on top of the Fastmail email and I check it on the web. I do email sprints. And so I'm not constantly checking. I'll set aside, 3 or 4 of these little sprints a day where for 20,
okay,
30 minutes, I'll just blow through as many email as I possibly can. Unfortunately, I get more email than would be ideal for my workflows, but that's kind of a byproduct of scaling up other elements of the work. But that's how I manage it, and everything else it can wait. So it's a forcing function for prioritizing email in a way.
3 or 4 times a day is impressive. I don't do it at most twice, usually once. So I'm actually impressed that you get in there that often.
My problem is I really enjoy email on some level. I find it very stimulating. So people are reading my books and they'll send these amazing notes
Yeah.
or taking the course. So there's all this ego validation essentially on some level.
Well, I think it's more than that. Like, yeah, I'm with you. I think that, hearing from people that are interacting with the stuff you make and they learn something from it or it helps them, that's the jet fuel for me. That keeps me going. I love hearing that stuff. But what kills me is like the people writing me, pitching some executive to be on the show and writing me every day and like just all the kind of the noise of email. That stuff kills me. That's why I also like SaneBox, frankly, because I can filter a lot of that stuff, but I still got to ultimately deal with it.
Yeah. Yeah. It needs to get done. So I find the sprints really helpful for that because you know, there's kind of the two ways of managing email where it's a steady flow, constant inbound information that you have to manage. And honestly, so much of it is noise, like you said, like Amazon things shipped or were delivered. We don't need to get reminded that the entire world of email that we have exists every time Amazon emails us something. But then, but there are, I will say, I'm a big fan of the sprints, but then there are the times when I'm waiting on something big.
Yeah.
I send a response and I'm waiting. And I find that I will constantly check if I don't have another fallback system in place, which usually just looks like I will install I'll enable the account in Apple Mail for that email and just set up a VIP filter for that.
Yeah.
So I do get the alert for people like that. because it's just like I find the process of doing email better is a process of managing the mental bandwidth that you spend on it. Because email will always take the same amount of time, right, to think about and answer an
Yeah,
email. But the amount of attention that it consumes really varies depending on what workflows you use. I find the sprints really minimize that attention because it forces a deadline. So that's its own forcing function. So you have less time to do more emails. So you end up getting through it quicker, send shorter responses. It becomes more agile in that way. But it also minimizes that constant attention that email consumes, where it's just this background hum of noise in our head. So I really like that about the sprints too.
yeah. The I do think that something I've discovered, like now we're in this age of AI, and everybody's like, "Oh, I'm going to make a tool that will draft responses for you." And I've looked at those just kind of for the labs, just to see if they're any good, and they're not. But I think the AI boon for me with email has been dictation. It's got so good now that I just put a mic on. I have a little mic I strap on my shirt. It's like a little wireless mic. And I can rip through email responses so fast now because you just hold the button down, you talk, and then you let go and you send it. And I'm sure that there's some typos in them, but in general, I just kind of let them fly. And that has been a big benefit for me. And actually, email isn't as much of a problem to me as it used to be because of that. Do you do much dictation? Have you ever played with that?
I do. I do. My issue with dictation is I do it more for ideas than anything.
Yeah,
So if I have an idea for an article or something, I'll dictate it. But then I'll look at it later and it'll be like a mess. I'll have
yeah,
to clean up my grammar and everything like that. Maybe that would actually be a good use case for AI, where it's like, here's the thing that I dictate, maybe type up a prompt or something. And so it's like a standardized prompt or a GPT or whatever
yeah.
to throw that mess into, to have something that is in my voice at the end that has actual periods and proper punctuation and stuff. But I find that when it comes to writing, I have a different process, like something that I've honed. And it's just kind of like, you mentioned more intuitive productivity off the top,
Yeah.
where it's like to-do lists are great, but sometimes we have to not look at a to-do list and just think, okay, what is the best thing that I should be doing right now? Or what's the most meaningful thing I should be doing right now? Because like letting that voice of intuition speak is, I think, one of the most underrated productivity tactics out there. And I find as I develop this capacity for writing, I write less in a logical way and more in an intuitive sort of way, where I'm trying to listen to that still small voice, as some people call it, inside of me, and think, okay, what is it that I really want to express here with this idea? And so I find that articulating something verbally isn't conducive to writing in that way, though it is conducive to writing more logically. So I could see it working for something like email.
Yeah, I'm kind of the opposite. I feel like when I just hit a mic button and just start ripping, I usually get around to the point eventually, you know. I mean, it doesn't mean that, it's usable text. And by the way, the thing you were talking about of kind of organizing it for you, but there's like Whisper Flow, Whisper Type. There's a bunch of them now that do that for you.
Oh,
But
good.
like just kind of letting myself exhaust the brain of all thought around this topic, and then I go back and read it, then I usually find the gems in there that like they come out. Whereas when I use a keyboard, I think sometimes it takes me longer to get to that,
Interesting.
because
So
I'm
you
more
have like
precious about it.
the raw material that you can pan for the
Yeah.
nuggets. I have a weird ritual around that, and I hope this maybe I have no. Now I have to say it. It
Okay.
might just keep listening past this, people.
All right.
But my favorite ritual for ideation is I talk on the phone, but to nobody. I think I've told you this, David, and
Yeah.
you still socialize with me, so maybe it isn't as off putting as I think. But I'll go for a walk and I'll have these wired headphones on
Yeah.
attached to my iPhone,
Yeah.
and I'll be talking as if I'm having a conversation with somebody and talking through an idea, but nobody's on the other end, and I'm convincing at it.
Yeah.
So it doesn't look
Yeah.
like I'm talking to myself. When I used AirPods before, I was always paranoid that people would see the phone and see that nobody was
Yeah.
on like the call screen, but I feel I was overanalyzing in that case. Now I just use the cord, talk through an idea, and I always find that the nuggets are there. So maybe a similar technique, but differently. Yours is expressed in a more sane fashion.
It almost sounds to me like you're so hung up on doing dictation that you go out in public and pretend to be doing it. I don't
Pretend
know,
to be
man.
doing dictation almost.
Yeah, I mean the advantage of the way I do it is that you get a transcript back and you can work with. Man, you're so close, Chris. You should try it one day. Just
I'm asymptotically close. I'll do it. Okay, I promise you I'll do it later today and report back.
sit down at your
Yeah.
piano or find a
Yeah.
comfortable chair in your house and just turn on. You can do it. The easiest way to do it, and for folks listening, you don't want to spend any money. Go to voice recorder. It's on your phone already. And Apple does a local transcription of it, which is not bad. I mean, it's not as good as some of the services I mentioned earlier. I think that, if you want to go a level up to that, I would say WhisperFlow. I've got a link in the notes for WhisperFlow. And they do a good job because they actually kind of do a very light AI pass on it. So, like, it'll find bullets and put them in bullets. It'll find things, it'll like sort your words out for you, but it won't rewrite them for you. Because some of these, like the AI is very aggressive and the transcription you get back isn't what you said. You don't want that. But you can get away with just using a voice recorder. And then you go into the app after you make the recording. There's a little pair of quotes there. You just tap on that. It shows you the transcript and then see if that helps. It's a good way to kind of like brain dump.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that.
Okay, but when you actually are writing, because you're a fancy book writer. I mean, what is it? The Wall Street Journal says you're the most productive man in the universe or something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know anymore.
So this is the part about you that always makes me laugh. All right, where do you write your books?
Okay, I actually wrote this one in a new place. Wrote this one in a new place. Breaking news, David.
Yeah, well, historically, I'll say Chris wrote them in TextEdit.
And I should say, I've been protesting outside of Apple HQ since 2000 and something with a sign that says, please make TextEdit for the iPad.
Yeah.
Please, Apple, please. What do I have to do? What do I have to do?
I just
There's
think
got
it's
to be
funny.
people at Apple that
Chris,
listen to
there
this.
are like 1,000 text editors that do that.
None of them are TextEdit, David.
Okay.
None of them are TextEdit. TextEdit is. I've been looking. The closest that I've found, and one text writer that I absolutely love because it's so beautiful, is Bear. Have you used Bear much?
Yeah, I don't use it often, but I keep in touch with it.
Yeah, I found that the font that they use, Bear Sans UI, hardcore Bear nerds, if you love the font, you can do the whole right-click thing on the app, show package contents, root through there a little bit and find this font. I've extracted this and now I use it not as a system font, but as the default font for TextEdit.
Okay.
So I'm kind of writing with the Bear font
All
in
right.
TextEdit when I'm using TextEdit. But for the Bear app, I find it lovely to write in. It's beautiful. It syncs. I've never had one syncing issue
No, it's
with
a great
Bear.
app.
Yeah, it's
Did you
incredible.
write your new book in Bear?
Yeah, so I
Okay.
wrote the new book in Bear.
Yeah.
I still write articles and things like that in TextEdit, shorter form things.
Yeah.
But Bear was too beautiful to not use for.
If Bear is working for you, I don't understand why you wouldn't use it for everything.
It's psychological, David. So I wrote like the entire intentional book in Bear. I actually tried to license the Bear Sans UI font for the book. I don't know what happened at Penguin Random House. The font that they ended up choosing, I think, would be better for long form book reading, honestly. And I think they actually might be using the Bear Sans UI font for the headers in the book, which kind of insides baseball.
Or something
there.
similar. Yeah.
Yeah, something very, very similar. Because the book is written almost for that font.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Not really. Explain that.
Okay, how do I explain this? I find that font has a voice. It's almost a crisp, clear, a little bit of a personality to the voice too. So the character of this font is, and I'm looking at it, I have a TextEdit window in front of me here. It's a little bit whimsical in its expression, but it's also quite professional and casual like business, not business casual, but a little bit formal, a little bit casual.
All right.
So I found that I was almost taking on the tone of this font in writing this book. And this is why I can't go back to Bear, David. It's psychological, because I look at Bear and an entire book just passed through it. And so I almost feel like I have a bunch of kind of random stray articles in there. I feel I need to empty Bear out, put those ideas in a different place until I'm ready to Bear again.
Okay. Okay. What about
People are going to
Chris?
think I'm so weird after listening to this
No, no,
episode.
I love it, man.
Okay.
You are my kind of weird, Chris. You are my kind of weird. Yeah,
Aw.
but like the other thing is you do so much research on these books. Where do you track all that? I mean, all these articles and like your endnotes are
Yeah.
extensive.
Yeah.
Where do you keep all that stuff?
It's all analog.
Oh,
So
really?
behind the closet here,
Yeah.
and I'm sorry, people into the environment, for wasting paper. It's the only way I can do it, though.
Okay.
I've tried using a Remarkable, and I just can't look at a screen to look at research, because some research articles, they're dry. It's not like reading a really
Yeah.
professionally bound book. It's something that it can be challenging to read sometimes,
Yeah.
especially because I'm reading, for this intentional book. I sifted through literally thousands of research articles, selected hundreds out of that. At the end of the day, you start
Yeah.
selecting a few, and then you pull on the threads of those things. And I find that I let the taste that I have drive what I end up consuming, because I'm filtering all these in terms of what will be practical and tactical at the end of the day. And so I need that lens. I can't just start with 100 articles, because then but that's kind of where I ended up. And I print off every single one. There's a printer in the other room, HP printer. I don't recommend it. The Wi-Fi is horrible. I have to factory reset this printer every couple weeks. It's like the only printer available at the Apple online store. I bought it. I thought, okay, I'm safe. This is kind of the not Apple endorsed, but Apple provided one.
Yeah.
Still, Wi-Fi issues constantly. But I guess that's just the state of printers, isn't it? But I print it all off. I take a pen to it, and then so I'll read a few and then capture every underlined thing after a bit of time and put that into a master research file to then integrate into the manuscript.
Yeah, printers are like, it's like, who does printers right now? It's such a racket the way they do the ink now.
Yeah.
I heard Cory Doctorow say that printer ink is more expensive than Kentucky Derby winning bull semen. I mean, it's just like the
it's very specific, Cory.
well, he likes to use very vivid examples, but he's like, it's the most expensive fluid on the planet or something.
It's memorable.
Because they've locked down everybody, and you've got to buy their ink, and printing. Good for you, I guess. I feel like that would drive me nuts, because I would want to be able to search them and like find connections.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got full analog on this.
Yeah, there is I do see the potential value in searching for connections, but to me, the value of the research, it has to contribute to the writing process directly. So I'll read the paper, I'll underline a few things, and then it's such an aversive thing to go through these underlined research articles that I'll wait until a stack of them accumulates until I blow through them all. And then that creates a bit of separation from the ideas. But then I can look at those ideas and think, okay, this fits here in the book and this fits here in the book, because and there are the articles that inform the structure of a book, but then there are the ones that inform the ideas that are within that structure. And so that, I think, is kind of the art of it, is like, you need a process for these ideas to flow directly into the manuscript, or else you're just dealing with like a big word idea cloud in Notion or Obsidian or wherever. And great to be able to zoom into this little idea in a constellation of a bunch of them. But if you don't filter that web down into something that is tangible at the end of the day, you just have this implicit knowledge that you can't then pass along to people who happen to be reading what you end up creating.
Well, I definitely think there's a risk with digital collection to become a collector and not a reader.
A hoarder.
But that being said, if I lived closer to you, I think I'd break into your house the next time you have a vacation, and I would scan all of your thing into DevonThink and just not say anything. It would just be
Can
on your
you
computer.
can you do that with my filing cabinet instead, David?
No, I can't. You're on your own there. All right, last bit of your tech stack is
Mhm.
tasks. You mentioned it earlier. I know you have a pretty informal relationship with tasks. How do you do it?
Yeah, so I think last time I forget if I was sharing the development of this, but I was sharing the pack list workflow that I have with Keyboard Maestro, where I'll press caps lock P and then a little prompt will come up. How many days are you away? Is the trip domestic or foreign? And is it work or personal? Because that then
Changes what you
determines what gets
yeah.
inserted with Keyboard Maestro. But I found that that process almost became robotic, where I felt like kind of a monkey going through the motions of packing. Whereas I got more enjoyment when I then, instead of going through the motions of just packing and feeling like a monkey, I don't know why monkey comes to mind, but it comes to
Yeah.
mind.
Well, they're
I
genetically
then,
close. Yeah.
yeah, maybe it's my closest genetic ancestor. Maybe that's what it has something to do with it. Instead of doing it that way, I then just kind of thought, okay, what do I need to pack for this trip? And so I'd pack the suitcase and then use that pack list, which I still used and use from Keyboard Maestro, as almost a checklist rather than a to-do list. And so it was like a verification thing where it's I did forget to pack a razor or whatever. But I found doing things this way that I started to pack things that weren't even on the list, that it just kind of intuitively occurred to me to pack. Oh, I should bring a camera, a really nice camera. I'm going
Yeah.
to an incredible place.
Yeah.
I should remember to bring, oh, this person would really like this, so I should pack a book for them or something. I find to-do lists are very similar, where I almost use them, I've started to use them as almost a checklist rather than a have-to-do list, where, love working intentionally, and a to-do list is essentially a place where we keep all these intentions that take place over a small amount of time usually. And I find that there's helpfulness in that, and there's the whole GTD-ness of it all, where it's great to be able to capture everything and get it out of mind. But then there comes the time where it's like, okay, everything's captured, but what is it that I need to intuitively be doing right now? Is it writing the next book or starting to journal ideas about it? Is it just picking up the phone and calling somebody? Is it going for a walk? That's kind of the remarkable thing to me, is how often it occurs to me when it's time to be doing something else and I finished the previous thing, how often it occurs to me, just go for a walk. That's what I need right now, because the best thing that I could be doing is scattering my attention so that it can cluster towards something new instead of just going to the next thing like a monkey, like an animal, as second John Syracuse reference of the podcast, as he would say. But intuition is underrated in the pursuit of greater productivity and meaning, I think. So that's what I try to rely on.
I really think there were a lot of great things about GTD, but I think it gave you this sense that you had to script a list of things to do and just like a robot follow them. And in hindsight, I think that was a mistake. I mean, the people who I think are best at this are the people who look at a task list as a list of lists. It's just things that you can go and reference and pull from. It doesn't mean it's things that you have to do. If you do allow the intuition and the focus on what's important dictate what's on your plate today, but no, oh yeah, there's also this list of lists I can tap into. Suddenly you're not as stressed out because you don't feel like you're not because the other thing is like you're on a never ending treadmill. You're not stressed out. You're working on the stuff that's more important. It really is an unlock for a lot of people, I think.
You feel more in control. And I would even go so far as to say, if you never let your intuition speak, you're doing productivity wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. Agreed. All right, we'll put a break right there at 44. So, Chris, actually, the reason I wanted to get you on the show is a while ago you were telling me about this thing you were doing, and I think you should just explain it. Tell us about the iPad mini phone.
iPad mini phone. Yeah, so I like doing experiments, and I almost figured the lessons from this experiment were almost too nerdy to write about for my general productivity audience.
Okay.
So I'm happy
Well,
to have an outlet for it.
you're among friends, Chris.
Yes,
Let it rip.
yes. Okay, I will let it rip. Honestly, the thing that bugged me the most about iPad mini phone is the lack of a high refresh rate. I could finally complain to an audience about this.
Yeah.
Man, it's I'm gonna call the cellular version of the iPad mini phone. The
Okay.
iPad mini phone is an incredible device. It feels amazing in your hand. It functions beautifully, but you gotta have the high refresh rate screen. You know? So back when the current one doesn't have this, right? I think they updated it once since this experiment a little while back. I don't think it does though, right?
No,
I don't want to get 100 emails.
it's still a little jelly.
Okay. Yeah. So there's the jelly scroll, which didn't bother me that much if it would have scrolled in 120 hertz. There were, so essentially for 1 month in this experiment, I tried to use iPad mini phone as my phone to replace my iPhone with it. So I got the cellular version, got the plan, and really gave this a shot. And I found a lot of interesting, curious things that I used the phone less. First of all, using it a bit less, I had more thoughts that kind of arose in my day. So I found that quite interesting. I think there's a folding phone connection we could get to here in the end too. But I had more gaps in the day, so I had more thoughts kind of arise. There wasn't this very convenient thing, and almost there was a little barrier to using this device. So that became quite a nice. There's this. I think it was Sean Acor in productivity circles. He popularized something called the 20-second rule, where 20 seconds is enough of a psychological barrier or catalyst that it makes us want to not do or do something. So if you want to practice an instrument, having it less than 20 seconds away, one of the best strategies you can have as you work or go about your life. If you want to not do something, having something 20 seconds away, working with your phone in another room, for an example, can be something on that end. I wouldn't say that it was ever as much as 20 seconds away, maybe 5-10 seconds away, because I kept it in my bag instead of in my pocket, because I would look like I would need cargo pants or something probably, which aren't really my style, let's say. Most of my clothes are Lululemon. And so I found that was enough of a psychological barrier that it really prevented me from filling the little gaps of my day with distraction. Now, I'm not as bad as I used to be with my phone because, I research managing attention for books and I speak quite a bit about the topic too. So, but the experiment kind of opened my eyes a little bit to, wait, this is still something that I'm struggling with to some extent.
Yeah.
So
let me wind back. So that's the
yeah,
thing, right? You realize that you're like pulling your phone out at the grocery store and like in little downtimes and not being as mindful or as intentional with your time as you'd like. So you thought, what if I made it harder to use?
Yeah. And I quite enjoyed that. I quite enjoyed the difficulty of it. And I think it's amazing, who's going to say the iPhone isn't an incredible product? It's a marvel on so many levels, but then you have to look at how does this actually integrate into my life? What are the integration points? It's amazing when we're on the phone and talking to somebody, but we're doing a podcast right now and I just picked up my phone and I see 2 text messages come in and I want to read them. How ridiculous is that? We're having a conversation for a lot of people and here I am reading the things that came in on my phone, David. And so if a phone can be distracting when you're using it as just like a little prop to hold up or refer to in a podcast, what are the integration points in our daily life too? What I think it really comes down to, and something that I really think a lot about with technology since this experiment, I had more mental ramp because my head was freer. I had more gaps in my day to just think and ideate. And, I replaced the phone in my pocket with a notepad, which was this incredible, incredible thing. The notepad stayed. What I think about with this is the jobs to be done. And I like that we're a mug nerd company here. So essentially, there's this theory that I think the late Harvard professor, I think Harvard, Clayton Christensen popularized, called the jobs to be done theory, which essentially says that we have different quote unquote jobs that we quote unquote hire the different products in our life to do. I'm drinking a tea right now as we record. Every time you say something, I have a little sip of tea. And it's green tea. It's 75% decaf sencha, 25% calf sencha. And so I'm hiring this tea to, create kind of a cozy atmosphere for me right now. I'm hiring it to be a little bit of an energy boost for me. I'm hiring it for a bit of sense pleasure. So there's all these kind of little jobs that I'm hiring this one essentially product to do for me. And it's interesting because the jobs to be done theory has started with another drink, the milkshake, a little bit less healthy. But essentially, Clayton was working with a company that wanted to boost their sales of milkshakes. They were marketing a milkshake. And so he was looking at the jobs that people hired the product to do for them. And a lot of the buyers turned out to be morning commuters who, they wanted something to do on their commute, kind of like this tea. They wanted to make it more pleasurable. And so the big change that they made to the product that wouldn't have been intuitive to make otherwise was making it take longer to drink. So I don't know if they made it thicker or introduced chunks or something, but when they did, sales skyrocketed because they optimized the product around the jobs to be done that people hired the milkshake to do. I think about all of the jobs. So it's like people talk a lot about, oh, we spend so much time on our phones. But you also think, how could we not? How could we not? When you look at the jobs we hire it to do, this phone is my boarding pass. This phone is my map. This phone is an internet communication device, an iPod. Are you getting it?
Yeah.
It's a pager, it's a calendar, it's a map. And the thing about switching to iPad mini phone, to go back to the experiment, is most of those jobs can be done by iPad mini phone as well. Most of them can be done with a laptop too, thanks to all the continuity features and just honestly syncing between things, text messaging, forwarding, and all that stuff. And so I found that things didn't change as much as I thought they would with using iPad mini phone. But the ways that they did change were kind of in the rhythms of how I used the device. So making it less convenient, making there be more of a little psychological barrier to using the device. That was what really allowed me to compartmentalize the usage around those jobs to be done so that they didn't kind of come flooding in when I was just walking around or recording a Mac Power Users podcast with David Sparks.
So how did, like you say iPad mini phone, but it doesn't have a cellular radio in it. It's not a phone. How did you get over that? Like, can I call you on this thing?
Yeah, with the forwarding.
Okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So, and this was kind of a hack from the experiment, is my iPhone always had to be around.
Yeah.
For the constant connection, but I never did use it. It was kind of like a dumb, I don't know what you call it, like a little hotspot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so the idea is, look, it's bigger. I can't just yank it out of my pocket at any moment. And as a result, I will have more cognitive time without grabbing a screen. And when I do grab a screen, I'll have a bigger screen. Did you find anything that like it got better at the jobs to be done because of its form factor?
Honestly, I don't really recall that there were any, because if there was a job to be done that I could have used the iPad mini phone for, I could have used the MacBook Pro for it. I was hauling around the iPad mini phone in a backpack when I was out, and my back was usually in the backpack as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny, this was a couple of years ago, and I forget at this point if I got the cellular iPad mini or whether I got the regular iPad mini and used the tethering, but I'm pretty sure I used the tethering.
Yeah.
Do they make a cellular one though,
yeah, they
right?
do.
Okay, yeah.
And there's so many people in Max Sparky Labs that want an iPad Mini Pro. They want like the Pro features,
Yeah.
better
Yeah.
screen, everything. Because a lot of people just love that iPad Mini. As we're talking, I'm about to take a really short trip, and I'm thinking that's going to be my main tech for the trip is the iPad Mini with a little keyboard. Because on a plane and things like that, it's actually really convenient for stuff like that.
Yeah.
The other thing I'd say is, Chris, have you ever like experimented with focus modes? Because I feel like a lot of the problems you're solving for here could be fixed with focus modes.
I do. Yeah.
Yeah.
I use focus modes.
Okay.
For whatever reason, I feel so I meditate a lot, so I feel I have a good handle over my attention. I see the benefit to having different home screens and stuff.
Yeah.
Honestly, and this is not to bash focus modes. They just personally, I don't personally use them that much. Honestly, the main thing that I use them for is you can turn off play counts and listening history in Apple Music under certain modes. And so in work mode, I'll listen to focus playlists on Apple Music. I'm a big fan
Yeah.
of those, or simply piano. But I don't want new piano music in my for me on Apple Music. That's honestly the main thing I use it in sleep mode, of course.
Yeah. Well, like for
Yeah.
instance, I have a podcasting focus mode, and the only people that can text message me at this moment are my wife, Steve, and Mike. And so I don't have the problem of seeing text messages while I'm recording. It just, unless it's from one of those three people.
Yeah.
Um,
I think another thing is I never really have notifications for things really on the Mac. I can't, I'll go to the notification center. It's the home notifications, health notifications, and there's an intermittent fasting app that I allow to send me note, and an app called Locket where you and a partner, you can have a little widget on each other's phones, home screens, where you can just show each other a picture that you take.
Kinda sweet.
I have
like
notifications for that too. Yeah, but that's it. That's it. The phone though, that's just a world of distraction every time I pick it up.
Yeah, I got an email from a productivity field guide customer who was struggling because I told a story at one point on the show about kind of a turning point for me, like a long time ago, was when one of my kids was little and she wanted to play Lego, and I kept answering email, and I was like, and then she like turned her back to me, like not out of outrage, but just out of realization that I was no good to play Lego, and it got me through the heart, and so I had somebody write in to say they're struggling with the same thing with the phone. And ultimately, what I told him to do that worked for him was just when you go to be in the room with your family, just turn your phone off. Just literally shut it down. Don't put a focus mode on. It's okay if the world can't reach you for the next 3 hours and you're 100% present with your family. I mean, I think the iPad mini phone is a great idea for people struggling with this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I hope that people out there are also thinking about this in ways. There's a lot of ways to skin this cat. Like I said, you could get an iPad mini phone and try that. You could turn your phone off. You could use focus modes. You could just decide to be more mindful. As Mac Power users and people interested in technology, that doesn't mean we need to let this stuff take over.
Yeah, the intentional use of it. One of my favorite things to do after work. My phone, I almost find frustrating. Just the amount of inbound that comes in.
Yeah.
And I never find that actually texting on it is that efficient.
Yeah.
So what I'll usually do is when I'm done work, I'll leave my iPhone in the office here. And so when I need to return to it for whatever reason, if actually there aren't many reasons these days, usually a phone call or something, okay, time to sprint to the office now so I don't lose this phone call. But I'll leave it in the office, but I'll take the MacBook Pro to a different room because the jobs to be done you can still do from the MacBook Pro, but having to open it and unlock it and open it, there's more of a resistance to it. So I think there should be almost some intentional friction with some technology when it tends to seep into our life in ways that make our life less meaningful.
Yeah. Something I've done along those lines is I drilled a hole in the back of my dresser, my bedside table, and I ran a USB-C cable into it. So when I go to bed, or actually when I get ready to go to bed, I just plug my phone in. I don't use MagSafe, and I shut the drawer. and the phone is near, but it's inside the drawer. And the reason I don't leave it downstairs is one of my kids does where she works. She does she helps with the Disneyland entertainment. So a lot of times they're testing parades at 3 a.m. and stuff. And so
Yeah.
she's out late, and I want to make sure if she calls, I get it. But otherwise, it's just gone. And I noticed when I started that, this is now, I guess I'd say it started as an experiment 4 or 5 months ago. Now it's just what I do. I noticed at the beginning, I'd be laying in bed and oh, well, let me check the news or whatever. And
Yeah.
just the fact
Yeah.
that it was in the drawer was just enough to stop me from doing that. And I felt like that was a pretty clever hack.
My issue is I want to listen to music as I fall asleep.
Yeah.
Sometimes to a podcast too. And so I want to do that in a way that isn't distracting. What I actually settled on is, so my phone plan, they offered me a new phone when I didn't need one. So I upgraded from the iPhone 17 to the iPhone 17 from the iPhone 14. And there was a time in between there where they offered me a free phone. And so I'll give Android a shot. And I didn't like it. It's not beautiful.
Yeah.
I find it less pleasurable to use, and there's a whole host of other reasons. Remember that guy who had his day phone, night phone, and everybody made fun of him for a period of time?
Yeah, they gave him a hard time for that.
Yeah. I'm not going to call it day phone, night phone, but I'll call it regular phone and the free phone. Let's just call it that.
But, the reason we gave him such a hard time, because I forget, his quote was something like, I have a day phone and night phone because I never stop, or something he had he added on to it, and it's okay, buddy, just calm down.
Oh, I see. Okay, so this is what he added. Okay, that's good. Because I feel I don't want to become a caricature or anything. But I use the Android phone for sleep. And so you can get Apple Music for the Android phone. And so I have that. I have my calendar on there if I want to check the next day. I'm thinking through. I have SimpleNote, which I manage my tasks in. That's where I capture my daily and all the ideas that I capture. So that's on there.
Wait a second. Wait.
What?
You use SimpleNote, but you write your books in TextEdit.
Yeah.
Chris, I don't understand. I'm sorry.
Keep it simple, man. You got to keep it simple.
All right. Let's put a break there at 1:03.
It's funny. I want to support SimpleNote, but the only option is to pay $200 a year or something. Yeah. It's I want to support you, not be a benefactor or whatever.
Yeah, no.
Wait, I got to run to the washroom quick now that we got this little window.
Yeah.
Wait.
Go for
Mute.
it. Okay. All right.
You want to do the three
so
questions as the bonus and do intentional next?
Okay. Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah.
All right. Let's do that. And you have some favorite apps and services?
Yeah. Yeah, I always do. Might be the same as the last ones. But
I don't remember. So there you go.
yeah.
I doubt anybody will.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me just get this in the note too. All right, Chris. So we did a whole episode focused on this new book, but we've been kind of circling around the idea of intentional. What are a couple things people can do in addition to figuring out ways to silence their phone to become intentional?
Yeah, what a complex question, turns out.
Yeah.
So
it's hard, right?
Yeah. And the challenge with intention.
Actually, let's start over again.
Yeah.
Chris, why is intentionality so hard?
Well, it is and it isn't, right? And so this was kind of a surprising thing in going deep into the research on intentionality. When you look at the research behind it, I also chatted with a lot of Buddhist monks in piecing together this book, where if you look at how intention works, an intention is just a plan that we will do something. That's all an intention is. And we're constantly setting plans to do things, both deliberately and on autopilot mode. So, you wake up and your brain, you have all these habits that your brain relies on because maybe you're tired. You make a cup of coffee. That's an intention. That was kind of a surprising thing from the research, is the things we do automatically are still intentions because they are plans that we will do something. But then we have the more deliberate things that we want to do that allow us to go our own way, that allow us to become more productive and live a more meaningful life. But intention is just the plan that will do something. And so there's all these intentions that we might be uncomfortable with, right? That are already ingrained habits with us. Using our phone too much, having one too many drinks, whatever it might look like. But then we have the intentions that are more complex, right? The amazing things that we want to build and ship, and the contributions that we want to make, and the things that we want to accomplish, all these different the things we want to automate, whatever it might look like. And so the nature of intentionality, I think, is really, really misunderstood after doing this deep dive into the research, where intention is essentially everything that we do.
Well, I was thinking about it on a more fundamental, well, maybe not fundamental level, but the where I struggle is the hard stuff. Like when I want to do something that is meaningful, that I know would make my life better or kind of allow me to fulfill my humanness more.
Yeah.
It's the hard stuff. And then you sit down to do it, and 5 minutes later, you're watching a YouTube video or shopping on Amazon, or just
Yeah.
like you just resist so hard. And you sit down with the idea, yes, I have blocked time on my calendar. I have put my phone into do not disturb. I've put all the pieces in place, and yet I cannot hold on to this thread. And I don't know. I think the hard stuff, I mean, the book has a lot of explanation, but for somebody listening, what's some things that you can do to get better at the hard stuff?
Yeah. And so, yeah, to get to a more practical level, which is where I love to live, is, there are 6 attributes that a task or a project can have that make us want to put it off for a later day, that make us want to procrastinate on it. And so this is the thing, you set these intentional intentions
Yeah.
that you really want to do deliberately. And
Yeah.
then everything hits the fan. Life gets in the way. So you want to break free out of the habits, out of the automatic behavior, but then you don't want to end up doing the things that you set these intentions for. And so that's the interesting thing about this idea of, intention is great. It's what makes us human. There's a lot of beauty behind it too. But there's also the saying that the road to hell is paved with the good intentions that we have.
Yeah.
And so the good intentions that we don't end up following through with, they're the things that are, so these 6 attributes, they're boring, they're frustrating, they're unpleasant. A lot of them are far away in the future. So the further away something is, the less we want to do it. They're unstructured. So there's no clear framework for us doing it, and they're meaningless. And so think about like doing your taxes or something, right? That's coming up, kind of, maybe you have bookkeeping to do. It's boring, it's frustrating, it's unpleasant. It can be far away in the future till it's like a week away. It's unstructured. There's not a lot of meaning in giving money to the government. And so, we put it off. We procrastinate to another day. But because there's science behind why we put these things off, we can use that. We can kind of, it's like jiu-jitsu or karate, where we use the energy of a task against itself.
Yeah, sure.
We can use those very reasons that we're putting something off to overcome it.
Yeah, you can harness.
Yeah, exactly. You can harness them instead of being repelled by them. So, bookkeeping as an example, you might think, okay, how do I make this less boring, less frustrating, less unpleasant? You might accommodate the resistance level you have to not wanting to do something. So you might think, okay, do I want to do bookkeeping for an hour today? No. Okay, what about 45 minutes? No, still no. Okay, what about 30? 20? I could do 20. And so you actually shrink how long you do something until you overcome that resistance level, which adds structure. It makes it less boring, frustrating, unpleasant. It makes it more immediate. It doesn't tackle the meaning aspect, which there's actually a lot of research behind as well in terms of what we personally find meaningful, which is a huge portion of the book as well. But you can actually use these triggers against themselves to make you want to do things that you don't want to do.
Yeah, one of my big takeaways from your book, and something I've been actively trying to do, is reframe meaningfulness on things that are hard. Stopping, like if you're going to do a hard thing and you have a history of not, like sticking it out, really reframe meaningfulness for it. Explain, why is this meaningful, and why is this important? Why is this something you want to do before they put you in the ground? And like, I actually sometimes even write it out. And that's something I always thought was like productivity nonsense until I read your book. And it really works for me to really, I've been attacking at the point of meaningfulness And it's really been helping me be more intentional about important work. So I think that's just one thing I got out of your book.
Good. And one other tactic that people can try in that vein is I call it aversion journaling in the book, where if you have these are the 6 characteristics that make something aversive. When you have something like that, one of the most helpful things you can do when you have something that you just don't want to start is to tap into, like you're saying, is something that is called our self-reflective capacity. It's our ability to look within ourselves to think, okay, what do I really want to accomplish here? Where do I really wish to go? And by doing that, you can really reframe a task for yourself. So I call it aversion journaling, where you grab a notepad and a pen when you have something that you don't want to do. And before you work on that thing, you just journal. Okay, what is it that I'm finding so aversive about this thing? Is it boring? How can I make it more fun for myself? Do it over a latte or a glass of wine or something. If it's frustrating, how can I make it more pleasant? Can I see it as something that I'm learning to do rather than something that I have to do? If it's unstructured, how can you design a framework and define the next steps, really flesh out the project for yourself, or do a bit of research or write a prompt that will generate it for you? So it's really that self-reflective capacity that lets us connect with what we find meaningful, but also values are this huge component of it too, which turns out there's a lot of science behind.
I'm a big fan of interstitial journaling. I don't know if you've ever
Yeah.
heard that term, but the idea of journaling in between. When we finish recording today, I will journal before I go on to the next block. I feel like that practice really fits nicely with that. But
Yeah.
look, there's a lot more in the book, gang. Go check it out. Chris is a longtime Mac Power user, like the rest of us. Help support him. And if you do get Chris's book, just do Sparky a favor and leave a review on Amazon or wherever you buy the book. That always helps. And it's a great book.
Thank you.
Chris, we like to wrap these shows up talking about some favorite apps and services.
Mm.
What are the little apps and services that are bringing you joy and delight these days?
Oh, you're going to make fun of me, but I don't care.
Okay.
SimpleNote is
All right.
my
SimpleNote.
SimpleNote is how I manage my tasks. So I manage my tasks in plain text.
Sure.
So it's just a simple list, right? I like to use intuition, and I use SimpleNote to check. It's also where I capture all my ideas. So any little idea that occurs to me throughout the day, SimpleNote. Whether it's on, I'm not going to say day phone, night phone. What'd I say? Real phone, free phone?
Yeah, there you go.
Whatever it was.
Yeah.
Please don't make fun of me, people. I got it for free.
Well,
So
the reason I want to make fun of you is you're using 3 text editors. I just don't get it. It's like, why don't you put all of that in Bear? I just don't get it, man. But
well,
hey,
I don't know. I guess you could use Kleenex for everything, but there's a reason we have paper towel, Kleenex, and toilet paper.
All right, there you go. You got me.
Though I have a dream of one universal tissue paper.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm just going to rhyme off my text editors to bug you more, David.
All right, yeah,
so,
keep going.
Yeah,
give me more.
Yeah,
give me more.
Going. So SimpleNote, I love. It's the description is in the name. There's simple notes. You can't even bold stuff. It's wonderful. What a time to be alive. Bear is another one. That's where I'm hoping to do more writing going forward. But because a book just passed through there, I'm back to the third editor, which is TextEdit, which Apple needs to make an iPad version of. We all saw the beta. We all saw the screenshot. I'm a TextEdit truther, David. I don't know if you've heard of us.
Yeah.
There's dozens of us, and we need to bring TextEdit to the iPad. What else is it?
Don't hold your breath for that one.
Yeah, trust me.
What's your favorite app in your menu bar? What do you put up in your menu bar, Chris?
On the menu bar? Besides, I forget what I use to replace bartender. Not much up there. I'm not going to lie to you. Freedom. Let's go Freedom.
What's that?
It's a distractions blocker.
Okay.
So I'm an impulsive person, and impulsiveness is the character trait that's most highly correlated with procrastination. It prevents us, subject of the new book, from finishing what we start. And so I find I gravitate to these websites. I find I gravitate to Reddit throughout the day and email outside of those sprints a lot of the time. And so Freedom blocks you from looking at the websites that you don't want to allow yourself to look at for a pre-specified period of time that you determine. And you
Nice.
can have different block lists. So there's some sprints for which I won't want to enable my email block list, and others for which I will, depending on what my intention is that I essentially want to support by what it is that I'm doing. So yeah, freedom. I'm gonna say I forget
That's
how
a good
much it
one.
costs. It's a few bucks a month. I'm pretty sure.
That's a good one. I think a lot
Yeah,
of people might want to check that out.
they make an iPhone version, but you can probably guess at how locked down having it works as a VPN on the iPhone is very, very buggy.
Yeah.
You can probably guess at how locked down that kind of stuff is. So it's
Yeah, that blocking is a lot harder on iPhone because of the nature of the operating system and how little
yeah.
access developers have. Again, focus modes or just turn the damn thing off.
Leave it in a different room. Also, a shout out, and I feel a lot of people use this app already, but trip mode. I'm a
Yeah.
big fan of trip mode.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And maybe it's been like a bunch of episodes since it got mentioned, so I'm going to mention it. Essentially, it just gives you granularity based on what Wi-Fi or tethering network you're on, what you allow access to use the internet with.
Yeah, I mean, the
So it's
problem that was built to solve is like you don't want to go in an airport, connect to your phone, and have it download a multi-gigabyte Dropbox file, because your
yeah,
phone, when it gets a Wi-Fi connection via, it's just going to grab whatever your computer, I'm sorry, is going to grab whatever it thinks it can get as soon as it's connected to the internet. I really feel like trip mode should be almost baked into the operating system.
yeah,
And
yeah.
we'd heard rumors of that years ago, but it hasn't happened. Maybe if Apple releases a cellular MacBook, which is that's very much on the horizon, I think, now that they're making their own modems. Maybe they'll build that in at that point. Would you want a cellular connected Mac? Would that be a thing for you?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I mean, I can just tether wherever I am,
Yeah.
and it's pretty seamless. I would almost want more seamless tethering.
Well, you travel a lot, so I thought you
Yeah.
might be a candidate for it.
Yeah, you might think. But honestly, tethering is so simple, and I would love for tethering to almost an automatic tethering mode where if
That's built in cellular, Chris.
yeah, it's built in cellular, but that's yet another subscription service.
Yeah, that's another pay.
Do you think, okay, here's a question for you. Do you think the cost for cellular on the Mac, the monthly cost,
Yeah.
would be greater than cellular for an iPad?
I have no clue. I think it would probably be the same. I mean, like I'm with AT&T, and I think it's $10 a month to add an iPad. But the way I think our plan is, we've got a bucket of data, and it all adds up towards that bucket. So it just, you pay $120 a year, and you got one more device that can tap into that bucket, which
Yeah.
is, I guess, fair. I don't know, but I would assume they would do it the same way. But these cellular companies, don't put any hijinks past them.
Yeah, you would hope so, but then you think, okay, who is buying a cellular Mac?
Yeah,
It's the richest of the rich.
yeah.
There are
Maybe they're just
people
like,
who,
yeah, let's just hit them for $50 a month. Yeah,
yeah,
okay.
they won't even notice it. Half the people who have these cellular Macs will expense them anyway.
Yeah, yeah,
So I feel like when they do their market segmentation, it's not people who are buying a MacBook Air for college that are buying, a cellular MacBook Pro or something.
yeah,
It's the tippity top of whatever market segmentation they're doing. So I could just hear some bean cruncher,
yeah.
maybe Tim Cook himself, behind a keyboard, maybe his Solver open. And, another great app, Solver,
Okay,
crunching. Oh, what can we make every month off
I
of
know.
that?
Sadly,
One other plug, so I'll just say Solver. I'm a huge fan of Solver, and especially the quick shortcut, whatever you call it. I have mapped to Alt or Option, I should say, Option Space. I do currency conversions there all the time. Even something simple as chatting. I'm Canadian, so chatting with a US friend about the weather, I'll just quickly plug in, what is this Celsius temperature in Fahrenheit. It's so simple for things like that, for budgeting, use it for, I use this app constantly. I'm always pushing to the edge cases in all these nested equations with different currency conversions. I feel half the bug reports are from me. Sorry, I forget the fellow that runs Sulfur, but I'm a huge fan of the app.
Yeah, and if you've never tried it, it's just such a unique take. It's like a calculator that you can write sentences in, and
Yeah.
it's almost like a spreadsheet too. It like if you've heard us talk about it, you've never checked it out. You should just go look into Solver. And it's always like it's spelled weird. Soulvr, I believe is the spelling. I'll put the link in the notes, but it's a strange name, but it's a very unique app, and I think it's definitely worth checking out. Chris, thank you so much for coming in. Chris came in on really short notice because Stephen's illness got kind of worse as we went through the week, and I just want to thank him so much for being on call like that and coming in. Congratulations, Chris, on an amazing book. Like I say, I like everything you write. I love your personal writing style. When you read a Chris Bailey book, you feel like you're having a conversation with a friend. And not everybody in that racket does that, I mean, you really do a good job of communicating very complex information to your reader. And this book in particular hits for me because, like I said, I made a podcast called Focus for a reason. This is, to me, I think, if you can get intentionality, you've got the superpower, and most of us don't. So thanks so much for unlocking a lot of this for me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for the nice words. Always good to be back with the fellow nerds on Mac Power Users. I love being here. Thank you for having me again.
Chris, where can people go to find what you're doing?
Yeah. So the new book is called Intentional: How to Finish What You Start. It's in bookstores everywhere. I read the audiobook if that's your style. Thank you for mentioning the Amazon review because those early ones do help a book out. But no pressure. Just feel free to check it out if you want. chrisbailey.com is where you can find all my stuff. You can find the writing that I do, the newsletter that I have. I try not to be too annoying on the newsletter and just send something out when I think you'll find it helpful. And yeah, I have a few other books too that you might like as well. So thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, Productivity Project is a great one to give to somebody who's trying to get into this stuff because it's a lot of experiments and kind of a nice way to get started. And all of Chris's books are great. I really like Calm as well. I thought that was a great book too.
Can you rank them?
Let's see. For me, it's almost. Well, I think I would say Intentional is definitely number one for me, and Calm is number two, because I think those are two problems that I struggle with. I would put Productivity Project third because it's the book I give to friends who are trying to get more productive and don't really know where to start, because you cover so much ground in that book.
Yeah.
And then Hyperfocus is a good book too, but I think that would probably come after that, just because of
poor Hyperfocus.
Hopefully I didn't hurt your feelings, Hyperfocus.
No, I like hearing people's rank.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool. We are the Mac Power Users. You can find us over at relay.fm/MPU. Go there for feedback and memberships. Join More Power Users. Get the ad-free extended version of the show. Today on More Power Users, Chris has 3 questions for me, but he hasn't told me what they are. So I'm going into this one blind, gang. I don't know what's going to happen.
Want to tease? You want to tease?
No? Okay, tease me.
Okay. I'll tease people for the outro here. One is on LLMs.
All right.
One is on Apple in general.
Okay.
And the third is about your rituals of some sort.
Okay. All right. Well, those are good. Those are good. I'm ready. Thanks to our sponsors today, 1Password, Squarespace. Thanks again to Chris for coming in. Have a great week, everybody. We'll see you next time on the Mac Power Users.